Hi everybody, and welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. We are now doing the first review show of the Premier Division of 2023. I'm Dad, your host, and I am joined by JP from Derry and the legend that is Keen Minton from St. Pat's. Boys, how are we?
Oh, good.
I feel like I'm on the chase here or something, the way I built
You
that.
were on the chase, you were ready to go. Now, that was Denny Corkin's drop years ago. But look, lad, it's absolutely brilliant to be back. I'm buzzing because Bo's top of the league and we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. Top of the league. Don't know where you are, but sure, look, only team to get 3 points at the weekend. And we're better to start than Turner's Cross down to the beautiful rebel county that is Cork City, who are back in the big time. Firstly, what I will say is it was great to be in a packed out house. 6,500 fans at this. It was absolutely packed to the rafters. It was great to see, but we didn't hear any Cork City fans singing. It was all Bows. We took over when we got there. We had to open up a new section to let us all in. Let's dive right into this. It was a 1-1. Jesus Christ! It was a 2-1 win for Bows, and we did well to hang on to it. I suppose I'd go to you first, Keno. Horton, Flores, and Keating got a late goal in this one.
Yeah, it was. I watched the game on Friday night when I got back. Good game. Good game for the telly. To be honest with you, I didn't think, if you're looking at all the fixtures that were on this weekend, I don't think that would have been on RTA, if I'm being honest with you, like before, you know what I mean? Now, it turned out a decent game. It wasn't not a bad game at all for the telly. Couple of goals, goalkeeper mistakes, both ends, which, I'm ahead for a good game. There's no getting away from that, but, it was the quality. I think you can see it was a real, I think, nearly over the whole first week of the season. It was just that first game out of the way. It was kind of, there was a few mistakes in most of the games, to be honest. I say most of the games this weekend, that there seems to be an awful lot of mistakes. So, you expect that with the start, and not like the transition with players and things like that. But, we thought Bowes done well. It's a tough win, first game of the season. Like, you don't want to be, you never want to play first division side in the first game back in the Premier Division, especially away from home, because that's like a cup final for them and everyone's up for it, and it's horrible. But you see they got 1-0 up and then 2-0 up, and it was comfy then for a little bit until the last 8 minutes or so. And then they were kind of hanging on for a bit. But a good win for Bowes, and I think there's been an awful lot of questions about them. And I still think them questions will be, they will. One win isn't going to paper over any cracks at Bowes. I still think they need a few more players in the door. They need, they do need to strengthen, but they put out a team there on Friday night and they got the win, and it's all you can ask for first day of the season. And it might turn out to be an extra 2 points on everyone else come the end of the year, whether they're going for Europe or whatever it may be, because nobody else played one. So it's good for them, and yeah, that's really it for me, I think, on that.
I suppose, JP, looking at it from a Cork City perspective, they're not going to be too impressed with that. Obviously, they're signing in goals. That young goalie from Celtic, you'd be thinking that, obviously, I think it's his first time in senior football, and obviously he's going to a huge club like Cork, who had 6,500 fans, one of the highest followed fan bases in the country. A stadium that's intimidating to go into them. They're always loud. It's fully packed the whole way around. There's no getting away from it. There was away fans, Bows behind him, jeering him when he's going to kick the ball. It's hard on the young keeper, especially when he's making mistakes that's led to goals, and it's on national TV for everybody to see. That couldn't have been easy for him or Cork City fans that night.
No, that's probably the biggest crowd he's probably played in front of. To be honest with you, I know he's come from Celtic and all that, but his reserve football over there, he probably played in front of a couple of hundred people. So it was probably a bit of an eye opener for him. And then to be stuck in front of a sold out away end for the entire second half, and Demons giving the absolute stick, couldn't have helped him either. And the fact that he's made a mistake, I hope it doesn't ruin his confidence. I hope it it can bounce back from it and have a strong season or whatever. But when I saw this goal, I thought, geez, must have swerved or moved. But whenever you watch it, I think it's him that moves out of the way, not the ball. So hopefully it can bounce back from it. But from a Cork point of view, they'll be disappointed because they'd have saw this as a great opportunity to get points on the board early doors. From what I was reading, I didn't get to see this game back, but from what I've been reading and chatting to a few Cork fans, is that they didn't show themselves. They didn't do themselves any justice, and it's looking already like a long season for them because they have to come up to Derry now next Friday, and it's not going to get any easier for them.
No, it's certainly not, especially with an away trip up to Derry. That's never easy on the best of days, but coming off the back of losing your first game at home to Bohs, it's not easy. I suppose just to quickly wrap up on that one, from my own thoughts on that, I thought Bohs did really well. I was very happy with how he played. Obviously, Keith Buckley slotted in at right back for anyone who was watching this that didn't get a chance to look at the game, and I thought he did okay. He made a few mistakes, but it was good to have that experience in the side again and someone to rally on the team. James Talbot, you could see that he's been out for the guts of 9 months. Unfortunately, he made a few clangers, but I thought he did show some good leadership skills as well. Like, he was getting on to players, he was shouting, he was making calls, and he was brave, I thought, which was great for a player coming back from injury. He was brave. That new centre-back, Radowski, if I'm saying that correctly, the Polish one, I thought he was solid. I thought he was very quick, he was good in the ball, he was strong, but he did play 3 or 4 back passes across the own goal, which I don't really like to see. One of them could have led to a goal, but it didn't. So that's why we're not talking about that one, I suppose. Then probably just quickly wrap up about Cork City. Then I thought they sat back an awful lot. Once we went 2 goals up, Cork were like a bit afraid. They were rattled. They were shell shocked. They just weren't moving. They were flat-footed. There was no urgency to get forward when they got the ball, and the fans weren't happy. And some of them were leaving in the 70th, 75th minute. And that's never nice to see. And I think you have to give credit to Keating as well. Obviously, he did well in the first division last season. He ran for Cork. I thought he covered a lot of ground. He tried very hard. Look, he got the goal at the end. He put Talbot under pressure and he got the goal. And that's what happens if you keep trying till the end. So that was good for him. And look, it's going to be a very hard game for Cork, I think, next week. I suppose then, Keemetten, moving into your club then, Pats against Derry, a 1-1 draw. I'm very sure that Keano will be the happier man here with this, with Redmond robbing a goal in the 80-90 minute, but McAneff put Derry ahead in the 32nd minute. And I think when McAneff got that goal, you were probably thinking Derry are probably going to get the win here now. But obviously, Pats kept trying to the end and eventually got their due just and got the goal at the end, Keane.
Yeah, look, again, you take a point out of that and you'd be delighted with it, I think, going into it. And and I think going into it, Derry, if they were offered a point, they probably would have took it. It's just in the last minute when you can see the goal like that, it is sickening. And that's the reality. But I think both teams would have been happy with a point before the game. I thought Pats came out of the traps very quick, and they got at Derry at the start of the game, and then Derry got into it then a lot, and Derry started creating a few chances. Other Moose who came out, Joe Redmond cleared it off the line then, and we had a couple of hurdy moments, and then obviously the goal. Joe unfortunately made a little blunder himself, and it led to the goal. McAneff stuck away well, in fairness to him. But I thought then, start the second half, even Pats were a little bit flat in the game. Derry were kind of controlling it, and they were doing really well. I thought even Adam O'Reilly, his energy in the middle is just infectious for Derry, and I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see him with Diallo and players throughout the season and how he fits into that team. But I've seen a few people saying that Adam won't probably play every week in that Derry team, but he's probably the best midfielder that Derry have, and Derry have some really good midfielders. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and even when Cameron comes back into it as well in the middle, or whether he'll slot in at the right full, because that he's going to be a force there. You can see that already, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Derry take over the season. Obviously, not like 4 games that we get them, but I thought the subs that we made were we really changed the game, and that's something that I think every fan is critical of when your team is losing or when your team is behind in a game, that you don't change her up. It's not, you always hear someone saying change her up, but I think when Pats really went for it, the first sub they went with 4 at the back. Then we started with 5, made a sub, took off Tom, went 4 at the back, and I thought we were excellent for a little while, getting into it there with the likes of Serge, who I thought was fantastic out on the right wing for us when he came on, and then you bring on Cardi and stuff like that, and that we had a right go at there, and obviously getting the goal, you could feel it coming. I don't know if JP, you were probably were you down there, yeah? It was everything, all the action was down there for the last 20 minutes, and if that game went on for another 6 minutes, we could have been talking about something different there, but Pats look dangerous when they attack, and they look like something's gonna happen in that game every time they got the ball forward, especially when the subs are made. Corners, they were a big side, and that's something that we're probably not being used to in recent years. So an awful lot of positives. Look, you didn't lose the game. Again, the way I look at it, any teams, probably Bows are probably going to be in and around Pats, as you'd like to think so yourself, that they be in and around Pats. So no other teams really have, we haven't lost any ground on anyone, which is always nice, especially when you play one of the top 2 or one of the favourites for the title. So I was happy with that, and look, of course you're going to be happy when you score an 89th-minute goal, but overall I just thought the way we got back into the game was something that, like Pat, sometimes we can, before we'd lie down, or we'd
fight a little bit at the end.
I'd rather just have a go at it, and we had a right go at it, and we came out with a point, and obviously we're the happy on the 2, but like I says, I think both teams would have been happy with that.
JP, obviously, Keane would be the happier man out of this. Like any team getting an 89th minute equaliser against Derry, or really any team in the league, like you're going to be very happy with that. It's going to be very morale boosting to know that you fought to the end and you came away with something from the game. But looking from a Derry point of view, you would have been hoping to go into this and win the game, and especially going 1-up away from home. Like that's not easy. And then towards the end, switch off a little bit and concede the goal. It's not nice. Is a 1-point gain or 3 points dropped?
1 point gained, I think. Let's not make any point about it. Some Pats are going to be up there thereabouts come the end of the season, and not many teams will go to Richmond Park and pick up ones. So for me, it's a good point to start the season, because we haven't lost any ground, and I think if you're talking about losing ground after one game of the season, I don't get that. Thought we played really well. First 10-15 minutes, I think St. Pat's controlled it, but then Derry started to run the game. I think the huge blow for Derry was the loss of Michael Duffy in the warm-up. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but lost him in the warm-up. Ollie O'Neill came in to make his debut. Thought he'd done relatively well. A few times he had situations where he was 1v1 against the fullback, and I think he was just trying to feel his way into the game. And I think if that's Michael, who knows the league better than anybody, he probably takes the fullback on, commits him. But look, I thought Ollie had a really good game. He nearly scored. The keeper made a mistake and he's went for the chip, and Redmond's got back and cleared it off the line. So happy with how he played. I thought the 2 best players in the park for both teams was Jordan McAniff and Adam O'Reilly. I thought them 2 were unbelievable for Derry. As Keane's touched on already, Derry have got really great midfielders, and you look at Cameron Dummigan, who was injured, Sadie Diallo, who's suspended, with Patrick McGlinley come off the bench, Brandon Kavanagh's in there as well. There really is a good depth there about the team, and look, the last 20 minutes was all Pats, and Keane touched on, was all down to the attack and substitutions that Clancy made. I thought Mulroney done well when he came off the bench. didn't get much joy out of Kieran Cole, so switched him over to the far side where he started to get maybe a wee bit of more joy against Ronan boys. That's nothing against Ronan. It's just Mulrenny's a very good player, and they got what they deserved in the end up. Derry just couldn't get the ball. I'm not sure. I think there may have been a bit of a wind in the second half. It picked up a wee bit. That stopped Derry from getting themselves up the pitch because they threw Cian Kavanagh on to try and be that effect, and it just didn't work out for us. But look, as I say, there's not many teams going to go to Richmond Park this season and win. So I think it's a point gained because it's the first game of the season, not the last 5 or whatever. So I think you have to look at it as a point gained.
Yeah, I suppose if you're looking at it as a glass half full situation, like glass half empty, which is it's a good way to be looking at it. Obviously, Derry have pushed really hard last season. Have made some good signings. Like we all know what Adam O'Reilly by now, like he's probably going to be a very good player this season, and it was a good signing for them. He's very energetic midfielder to have for Derry, and obviously you're spoiled for options. And then, like you said, that young player coming in and doing really, really well. Like that's great to see as well for a team coming in. So that was Paston Derry 1-1. Good to get a point for both teams. Moving on to the Louds then. Dundalk took on the Students, which ended in a 1-1 draw. I think an awful lot of people would not have thought this at all. When I was doing the show last week, I was thinking UCD could get walked all over in this game. I really wasn't expecting anything for UCD to this with respect to UCD. Obviously, there are sides that everybody knows that they can't go out and get players, that they're relying on who comes into their academy system or who comes to the college. And Beaton got the goal in the 78th minute and Martin in 34. And obviously, Hoban missed a penalty for Dundalk too. Keane, I said Dundalk would be kicking themselves over this one. A 1-1 draw against UCD. If you were to play any team in the league on the opening week, with respect, you'd pick UCD at home. They really should have probably won this.
Yeah, because you would be looking at the other fixtures as well, and you'd be looking and you'd be saying, I don't expect Bows to beat Cork. I don't expect Derry to beat Pats. I don't expect or the other way around. Or so they not that they expect 3 points, but they'd be going out there hoping for it. I watched this morning, and I was impressed with UCD. They were just well drilled in what they do, and they probably, as mad as it sounds, towards the end of the game, they probably felt a little bit hard done by that they came away with a point. And it's mad that I'm saying that, but even I don't know if Andy probably said it. I don't know, but towards the end of the game, they had a chance or two that I thought go into different story. And Dundalk just didn't really kick into gear. Obviously, missed a penalty and stuff like that. So, with Dundalk will be in and around the European places, and anyway, so I don't think it's panic stations or anything like it. But it was just one of them off nights, and we are going to get them. Obviously, you don't want it this early in the season, and because people will be looking at UCD and hoping that they get a win, but. You have to give credit to UCD. They went there with a game plan. They were well drilled. They stayed in the game. But the Dundalk missed penalties, stuff like that as well. So that definitely helps. And it's a big point for UCD, and I think it's a big statement really from them one game in that we're not going to be like you're not going to get 3 points out of us. We're in every week, and that's something that I think was needed. And a few people were surprised when they seen them equalise, but if you watch the game, I watched it, like I said, this morning, and obviously the score, the minute they scored in, so you are looking out for them more. But they did look like then towards the end of the game that they were going to go on and nick something, and we could have been talking about a UCD win here, but I think it's just one of them nights for Dundalk. They'll be up there still. I think they have a lot of quality. They had obviously Dan O'Kelly, Robbie Benson, only coming back really and getting in with their big players for them. And Benson, when he's fit and he's ready, he's up there with the very best in the league. The league has to offer. So he's a massive loss for them. Obviously, Mountney has done his cruciate for the second time in 3 years.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, 18 months, second time in 18 months, probably. Like, he done it up in Dundalk just before the crowds came back from COVID. What was that? Just after the summer of 21. And he came back, he only got back for a couple of games to go last year. And then he's after doing it in pre-season again this year. So, it's awful for him. And I don't like to see that, but that's a massive loss for Stevie because he had to go out. Now, the rifle looks the business, I have to say, that he got. I think he looks the business. But, Mountney, a leader in that dressing room, and he still will be a leader, behind in the dressing room and stuff. But you want your leaders on the pitch as much as possible. So it's a massive loss. They have a small squad, which kind of worries me a little bit.
But like what you said, though, a few teams probably still look to add to their team. Like Bohs have 5 defenders, 3 on loan. I'm sure they're probably going to try and bring somebody else in. I'd certainly hope so, because you look at a few injuries to any of them teams, especially Dundalk. It's a bit of panic then. Like
they've Europe this year, which is the first time Stevie will be playing in Europe, and he'll experience this. Since he's been at Pats and Dundalk, going off what he has, the squads have been tiny. Pats, when we won the cup that year, 2 years ago, we had probably,
they get 3 centre backs at one stage.
I'd say we had 18 or 19 players that played in the team. Obviously you have a few young lads mixed in and around the group and stuff like that, but I'd say we had 18 players, 19 players. So they're small squads, and with Europe this year, I fear for Dundalk, first of all, they need a good European run, even to get through around just for a few bob, because they look like, they're struggling a little bit, and I think they're starting to see that. So Europe is pressure for them, and then they have to get into Europe next year as well. So I think at this minute, now I'll probably leave with egg on my face towards the end of the season, but I'm worried about them squad-wise going forward. It's all right now, but a couple of months down the line, Europe Cup comes into it, they might find themselves flat on their feet a little bit, and a little bit light on numbers.
Yeah, exactly, Keno. I suppose, JP, then, that's an awful lot to talk about. Dundalk, good and bad, but you have to look at UCD now. You have to give Annie Myler some credit. He's lost an awful lot of players again this season, and he will lose more in the summer. He went away to a Dundalk side. They obviously have seasoned pros, like some of the names that were mentioned, a team playing in Europe, a team that are pushing to make more signings. They've got some of the league's best players. These are a bunch of college kids, and they went to Dundalk and they've done themselves really, really well, and they got themselves a well-earned point. And like Keno said, he watched back that game, and he said that, from what Keane said, they tried really hard. They were attacking, they were getting forward in numbers, they were putting Dundalk under pressure, and that's a really good result for them. And if Annie Meyer keeps these up, like what Keith said there a few weeks ago, he'd have to be a contention manager this season.
Aye, they're not just a bunch of college kids, they're a bunch of damn good footballers as well.
Sure, good footballers, and you see always great.
And they showed that last year, because everybody had them tipped to be going down when as soon as they beat Waterford in the playoffs, they get promoted. Everybody tipped them to go down, and as soon as they beat Waterford in the playoffs to stay up, everybody was tipping them to go down. So they've been in this position before where they're coming in this season, nobody's fancying them to do anything. Pressure's off. Anything that they get from everybody from outside their camp will see it as a bonus for UCD. Within their camp, they'll be going into every game obviously looking to win it. And as Cian touched upon there, they were unlucky, and they end up in listening to Andy Myler. He sounded really positive about the performance, and he felt like sounding that he felt like they could have nicked it in the end up. So it's not an easy venue to go to, as everybody knows. They were unbeaten there last year, and UCD took 4 points off Dundalk last year. So let's remember that. So
we beat them, JP.
What's that?
We beat them last kick of the game.
Oh, was that? I thought that was a draw. Apologies for that, Pats fans. It's not an easy venue to go to. and UCD have done remarkably well. I felt Andy Miller should have got manager this season last year. Well, because Stephen Bradley did what he did, won the league, got the Rovers into Europe, absolutely deserved it. But I think without the European run, I think Andy Miller may well have just taken the manager of the season last year. And if he can repeat the fate this year, I can't see how you can't give it to him, to be honest with you, because we talk about the players that they've lost and the players are going to lose. But for me, right now, it seems like their biggest asset is Andy Miller, and if they can hang on to him, then they possibly stand a chance of staying away from the automatic relegation spot.
Yeah, and I seen there a stat online there recently, correct me someone if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm almost sure it said that Beaton has scored something like 5 goals in his last 5 games for UCD against other college teams, but there were good college teams like UCC and teams that'll be up in the good leagues and university leagues. Could be one to look out for this season as a player for UCD that might have emerged. I suppose for myself then, this will be a game that I will try and watch back tonight, because obviously Bohs play Dundalk during the week, so I just want to see how they lined up and how they played and all, and it's going to be interesting to see how UCD did against them, or how they attacked them and areas that they might have exploited. I suppose going to the only goalless game then, Cian, we had Shells took on Drogheda in a 0-0 draw. I think, from a Drogheda perspective, away from home, going to Damien Duff's home ground, getting a draw, keeping a clean sheet, I think that they'll be the happier of the two, than Shells playing at home, not scoring and only getting the point off Drogheda, a team I think that they should be looking at and fancying to try and get one over if they want to try and jump above them in the league.
Yeah, look, Shells should be winning that. You'd like to think, and they had a number of chances that in the game. I seen it back. They had a couple of chances. Obviously, everyone's probably saying the Matty Smith one at this stage, and the way the ball went and it bounced up, and
it was terrible.
They had a couple of good chances in the game now, but yeah. I don't know. Now, obviously, it's first game of the season. It's positive and stuff like that. But, listening to Damien after the game and how upbeat he was and how happy that he was when they played. And it's interesting to hear him say that last year he had no bench. That's something that he said as well. And this year he has a bench, so he's going to be using it. And he said that now a few times. So it's a little bit mad the way last year he was praising the whole squad and the group, and now this year he's saying he didn't have a bench last year. So
that's what I suppose, though, you can't be too critical of your own. You can't go and say, we need a right back when you have someone playing it right back every week who is a right back. You can't say we need a goalkeeper when you have a starting goalkeeper we played. You can't criticise your own team too much. But I do hear what you're saying. You can kind of come out now a little bit and say, look, we were a bit light on bodies last season, and that might contribute to some negative results, or we had a few injuries in the wherever midfield that we just couldn't fill the void, or the young players we had just weren't up to the standard of coming in to try and level out the playing squad when we were going against other teams with a light squad or with injuries. Yeah, no, they played well in the game. I thought, they played some nice stuff. You could see what they were trying to do. Shane Fardell playing at the back was kind of a bit of a killer for them, I think. Obviously, you want him going forward more so than anything. But they've a strongish side, and I think they're up there with your Dundalks, they're up there with your Bohs, and and Sligo, let's say, battling that out. I think a lot of people are tipping Derry, Rovers, Pats, you know what I mean? But Pats will definitely, I think, in my opinion, would be third in that little group that everyone's pipping. And I think after that, whether Pats will get dragged into that race with Bohs, Shells. I don't know if Sligo will be there this year myself, but Dundalk, yeah. So I just think they're as good as anyone. They played some nice stuff. If they won it, everyone would have been happy, I think, with it. But going off what people have said and listening to managers and player interviews, stuff like that, they were happy with how they played in the game, and they're not worried that the goals won't come. That type of thing. They were creating the chances.
One of them started the season games, just got off with the point, and but on the other hand, you look at Drogheda, that's a fantastic point for them. I don't think many people have given them a chance this year already. And, I think similar to what UCD, this is something that, they can say, well, here you go, look, we're not going to be beaten every week. We're going to take points off you. And, it was a good one. I think Drogheda, for me personally, I think they look better defensively than last year in terms of the players that they have. I'm looking forward to seeing Keely's only young centre half, obviously, after being up the north and stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Curtis, obviously he used to play with Patson. Looking forward to seeing how them two get on as a partnership. They look ideal, to be honest with you, for Drogheda. And I think the way they play and the values and all, I think it definitely suits Drogheda down to the ground to have these set players in. But, that's definitely going to be an extra couple of points this year for them, in my opinion, with them two in the squad. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Drogheda progress over the year as Shells as well. And, obviously Pats have Shells next week, and I think that's going to be another big game. I don't think any game is small now. And look, I think it's great that, we're seeing so many draws this week. It just shows you how competitive the league is this year, and everyone's going to take points off everyone. The least inconsistent team is going to win the league. You might be the best team, just be consistent, and I think you have a chance, and that goes for everyone.
Yeah, I suppose, JP, that's a great point Keano made, that the only team to get a result this week was Bohs against Cork, but every other team interestingly drew. I wonder when something like this has happened. I can't remember a season where only one team has really won in the opening week, out of everybody. Obviously it was great to see the likes of Drogheda not get trashed, UCD not get trashed, pick up points. It's going to make the league competitive and strong, and this season in particular we've seen an influx of foreign players again, which happens every so often because a lot of our better young players throughout the last 2-3 seasons have gone on to England, and a lot of them have stayed over there, which is obviously a positive because we're developing players to get into their sides now and they're growing and they're not coming back. It's good for them that they've got over to England or wherever else they went. And, clubs here are looking to fill in the voids. And, you've got the likes of Cork who brought in 3 or 4 Swedish players. You've got Bohs who brought in players from Poland, 2 players from Lincoln. You've got Derry, yourself who went abroad as well. Every team, Dundalk went abroad, brought in that Gibraltar international. I think it was. He was on. I think it was Blackburn. A lot of teams have went abroad this year, but splitting the team up into, if you were to split it up into mini leagues, you'd probably have Cork, UCD, Drogheda, maybe down towards the bottom, maybe Sligo, maybe there as well, and then maybe Shells above them. So, from a Drogheda perspective, as we talked a lot about Shells there, Drogheda would be happy with this. A clean sheet away from home, a good few more players in, going away to Shelbourne, who would be a team who like to play out from the back, like to split, make the pitch as big as possible, pull teams out wide and far, get balls into the box, play them through balls. They're a hard team to play against when they get going. Drogheda have to be happy with a point here.
Yeah, they will be, because again, they're the team that's been talked about as being in the battle. They avoid the relegation. Everybody's putting them in UCD in the same fight. Nobody mentioned Cork, obviously, for obvious reasons, because of the new ownership and whatever, and everybody believed that Cork were going to sign better players. And I listened to Dermot Usher doing an interview the other day, and he said that he came in quite late, so Cork weren't able to sign the players that they possibly would have wanted. So for this season, Cork are probably going to be down there in that sort of mini league with Drogheda and UCD. Now everybody expected Drogheda to be in it last year, and they pulled away because they got good results early on. I think they lost the first 3 or 4 games, but after that they regrouped. They picked up massive results. They beat Shamrock Rovers at home. They drew with Derry. They beat Dundalk. So they caused a lot of problems for the top 3 last year. I think Derry beat them once out of 4 games. The other 3 was draws. They picked up 2 wins against Dundalk. I think they picked up a win and a draw at home to Shamrock Rovers. So it's going to be hard for Drogheda to replicate that kind of form this year because of the players that they've lost. But no doubt that they'll they'll still be competitive because they have signed some good players there as well, and some good young players too. But I was just going to make a point in Shelbourne. Like, a lot of people are tipping them as to be higher up the table this season than what they were last year, and I don't know if that's just off the basis of having reached the cup final. And many people probably don't realise. I think the cup final papered over a lot of cracks because they picked up one win between the start of August and the end of the season. So they did in the league, and I can't mind who it was against, but it was one win in the last 3 or 4 months, and they got absolutely annihilated in the cup final, as we've seen. And
they got out of jail. You're right. They got out of jail getting the cup final. It was covered up a little bit, that run of form. So it was.
We said it back then. I don't know how it was on that night.
Was it you that said it, Keno?
I definitely said it.
Someone did say it. I do remember it being said, but I couldn't remember who said it. But yeah, could keep going anyway, JP. I like where this is going.
But for so Shelbourne, they have a lot of improvement to do, I think. And I don't think they're going to be as quite high up the league as what many people are making out. I could be proved for wrong come the end of the season, and I'll probably get it from all ends from Shelbourne supporters, but that's just my opinion at the minute. Drogheda, I think they will be down in that sort of bottom three, but they'll take this point absolutely, because I think they lost both games last year. They lost 6-0. They draw Shelbourne, I think, at Tolka Park, so their last visit. So that's it's a really huge improvement. And as you touched upon already, we've had, out of 5 games, we've had 4 draws, so it's showing that the league's going to be competitive and no team's going to be easy to beat.
Yeah. I suppose moving to the final game then of the opening week.
Take 2, by the way. Take 2.
Moving to the final game of the opening week. Sligo 1, Shamrock Rovers 1. Another draw. Graham Burke offering a goal scoring sheet for Shamrock Rovers, and Lucas Browning got the equalising goal in the 94th minute for Sligo. I suppose Keane Rovers must be bitterly disappointed with this one. You know, they probably would have been thinking to themselves, "We'll get all 3 points against Sligo." You know, they themselves and Derry have the rights to go to every ground, be thinking we should be getting 3 points every week, more or less. They should be, you know, up there getting the win or getting the draw. But wasn't to be this week. They got a draw. A very late spoiler of the party by Sligo.
I was flying home last night, so I was in the first half, and I didn't know the score then, and went home and watched the second half. When I got home, it's great that we have the LOI TV, because
yeah, you can do that now.
You can actually go back and watch them. That was the worst thing about the dodgy sticks. You just couldn't go back and watch. You know, you can't rewind the game. So once they're gone, they're gone.
Oh, one expect one on all these mad African and Asian betting streams that we used to have to do 10 years ago.
So, you know, it was good to be able to pass now. Everyone was, you know, last year everyone was using dodgy sticks. Now they're using the pass, so it's great. And I have to say now, it was Sligo looked very good for the first couple of minutes. They came out. Then once Rovers scored, they kind of controlled it a little bit. Then obviously I didn't see the second half till I got home, so I didn't know the score. But you know, Sligo, you always felt like they were going to grab something, and I didn't think it was going to come. But you know, they kept going to the last minute. A bit of luck the way the ball comes out to them. But what a strike into the corner, and you know, it's a big point because, you know, again, myself included, are probably disappointed with Sligo's recruitment at this minute in time over the off season. I think obviously losing Keane 2 weeks ago was a bit of a, you know, kick in the hole for them. But
I think they only got, am I right in saying that they only got 50 grand for Keane? It's something quoted like that as well.
Yeah, you see, now in fairness, you know, you look and you think, you know, these players have to protect themselves as well. If there's a big massive fee there, you're not going to go. So, you know, that's the way it is for a lot of players now in the league. And, you know, the low release clause, like 3 years ago, someone got for 50 grand, you know, you'd be shoving them out the door. So I think it says it all about the league, though, in fairness, that, you know, we've come on a long way now. Like, I don't know how it was was I don't know whether I think it was Dundalk. They bought Dylan Connolly at the time for it was only about 15 grand or something, but the place everyone had a meltdown that they actually bought him.
A player, I think it was last season or season before as well, you paid a fee for a player. I think it was 10 grand or something. It was someone off Shamrock Rovers. Can't remember who it was. Was it?
Yeah,
Brandon Kavanagh, yes.
Paid a fee for him. I think it was more.
Yeah, and this is new territory for the League of Ireland, and
Derry paid money for Graydon as well. They Longford.
Yeah, and I'm almost sure Bohs paid money for Clark as well last season at the bottom. So, you'd be hoping this is the way our league's going to move and going forward in the future, that we might start moving players around the league for money rather than players leaving for free, or your 50-week contracts, or you're not signing for anyone because you're waiting for someone from England to come in, and then no one comes in, and then you're going to someone. So it's a real positive for the league, You
look at the Irish League in the up north. There's two players have gone between. I think Shane McCartan went from Ballymena to Glentoran. He went for 120,000. Then Lee Bonus went from Portadown to Larne. He went for 100,000. And you're just sitting thinking that it's mad money for clubs to be paying that kind of money, the other clubs. But then when you sit and you look at it, it is mad money for that type. But if you don't make Europe, then you're relying on the benefactor. So it is mad money, but when you look at it, then you're keeping money within the league as well. So I don't want Derry going out and spending 100,000 to sign a player. If we can sign a player for what we've signed, maybe Graydon or Kavanagh, then happy days. And
that's very interesting. I did not know
that player goes for 120 grand. What's a Pico Lopez or a Joe Redmond or whatever worth? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to see. Look, obviously Sligo, we're still the bottom of the pile. We're still players are still going to go for little or nothing. That's just the way it is in our league. But, it's just a sickener. It didn't happen in November or December. You know what I mean? It happened 2 weeks before the season. So I think they'll be down there. The red card obviously changed the game big time in swings for Sligo. I don't know. I wouldn't have given the red card myself. I thought it was soft. Thought it was very soft, and if he's gone to red card one, he has to red card the other, in my opinion. But I think people, I'm not saying dirty or anyone, but I just think people are probably disrespecting Rovers a little bit this season already. In terms of saying the league is dirty to lose and stuff like that. Like the Rovers have got these have got to the conference group stages last year. They've won 3 leagues in a row, and they've wiped the floor clean for the last 3 years. Like there was kind of a quarter of a title race last year.
And they've got a really, really good squad, I suppose. For myself, looking at that Shamrock Rovers squad, the only area, in my opinion, that need to strengthen on is the goalkeeping department. Obviously, Manis is a top keeper. He's one of the better keepers in the league, but he's 40 odd now. And Foles, their second keeper, no disrespect to him, but to me, he wouldn't be a Shamrock Rovers keeper. He wouldn't even be a Bohemians keeper. So,
but you see, as well, it's tough. I know that Shamrock Rovers and they're ideally the benchmark for everybody, but if you sign a first team keeper as a number 2, it's only causing problems.
You've got Odamusu who moved as a number 2.
Yeah.
He was playing number 1 at the time, and he even got back into the Ireland squad, Ireland 21s at the time as a number 2. But previous season he was playing every week.
Yeah, but it's tough for Stephen, let's say. So he has put Powell's in many cup games, and last week was a cup game. And you can understand why, because you never have 2 really top keepers. I think probably Pats have 2 keepers on the same par level in terms of 2 keepers that could potentially be number 1, and Odamusu and Danny Rogers. And I think the rest of the league really has set number 1s and 2s, in my opinion. Around it, probably Cork. So there's a bit of question marks, obviously, this weekend about Cork and stuff like that. But I think they're probably the only 2 clubs that actually have 2 keepers. I think that can compete as number 1s. So I understand where you're coming from, goalkeeping department. I think that'll be sorted next year. There was talk of Brian Maher in the off season and stuff like that, but nothing ever came. But I don't think that was coming over. But I think Rovers they'd be grand. They'd be up there again by the end of the year. No question about it.
Suppose, yeah, I agree with you. But just to wrap up quickly, then JP, like, it is something that nobody really talks about. Manners is 40 odd, and Rovers have an awful lot of games played around every club competition during Europe. They've got a league to try and win. They've got cups that they want to try and win. He's going to be playing a lot of football, and he is a standout number one, a world away. It's no disrespect to their number two. I suppose myself, I'd be looking at the recruitment going, but he's 40, and our next keeper really can't really. He's not nowhere near the race as to what our starting keeper is at. Like, I would have been looking to try and replace him this summer if they didn't already, because it just takes manners to get an injury. And you see in footballs, we've all seen mistakes second keepers make. I don't want to be picking on one keeper here, even if he is a Shamrock Rovers player, but it's just the fact that the last week in the last game, he made an evident mistake that he really shouldn't be making, and you have to play him 6 or 7 games in the league, and he drops you points individually that cost you winning a league. You'd be looking back and you'd be kicking yourself going, why didn't we just go out and get a second keeper? I know what Keenan's saying, you don't have 2 number ones at a club. No club really does. But I'm saying have a competent keeper to step in that is well capable of doing it. And I just don't think Foles, for me, and if you're a Shamrock Rovers fan, let us know in the comments, does it. I think every time I've seen him, he's prone to a mistake. And if you're a league winning team, a league chasing team, in my opinion, you can't really afford to have that. You need to have competent goalkeepers at your club, because it's a vital area. It's not like a right back or a centre back where a centre midfielder, a defensive midfielder, or a winger could step in and play a game.
It's tough when you're not playing, though.
It's when you look throughout the Shamrock Rovers team, it's the only weakness that you can see is their backup goalkeeper. And as Cian says, it's tough being a number 2, because you're not. As you said there, midfielder could maybe fill in or whatever and stuff like that at a different position and stuff. You can rotate them around. But as a goalkeeper, he doesn't get the opportunity. If your team's 2-0 up, the manager doesn't say, right, I'll take Alan Manis off now and I'll give Lee Poles 10-15 minutes here and goal. It doesn't happen for a goalkeeper the way it might happen for maybe a striker, centre back or whatever. So it is difficult. Look, I felt sorry on him last week when that one squirmed through his legs and the back of the net, because right away then everybody's pointing to the fact that Alan Manis, and like, as a goalkeeper you can go on for as long as you want, really, because you're not having to put your body through as much as what our players are doing. And Alan Manis is a top keeper. He's an international goalkeeper. He's won leagues with Lumfield. He's won cups with St Johnstone. He's won leagues and cups at Shamrock Rovers. His bags of experience. And for me, I agree. If he gets any kind of injury this year, where do the Shamrock Rovers go there then? Like, I remember a few years back looking at Shamrock Rovers and Stephen Bradley as he was building his team. I was thinking, the only thing Shamrock Rovers were missing was a top quality goalkeeper, because they had everything else. And then they went and they brought Alan Manis back from St Johnstone, and all of a sudden it just seemed to click. And
like, he has won them points in games. Like, he has kept them draws. He's got them 3
points. Last year in the Brandywell, it finished 0-0. He saved the penalty from Patchen. He saved a 1-on-1 from Michael Duffy. He saved a few point blank saves against Derry in the Brandywell, and at this stage Derry were starting to really up the ante in the race for the title. And in the end, if Derry had went on to win that game, they could well have leapfrog Rovers. Not saying we would have went on to win the league, but it shows that in big games they came up with big moments. They keep Rovers in the game, and that's something that Stephen Bradley will probably look at this season. He'll probably have a chat to Al Manis. Well, how are you feeling? I grab whatever. Do you think do you want to retire? No, whatever. He will chat to Manis and see how long Alan thinks he can keep going for. But I'm sure in the back of his mind he's probably thinking, I need to get another goalkeeper in here. to be my number one, to continue, because he'll be looking at Derry and thinking, right, well, eventually Derry are going to come for us. Well, it's this year, next year, and he'll want to stay that. He'll want to stay
like,
ahead.
you know,
He'll want to stay ahead.
Ty Ryan went up to yourselves up at Derry to sit on the bench, knowing full well I'm on the bench this season.
Yeah.
I just think for myself personally, if I was Stephen Bradley, that's something that I'd be thinking about going, Jesus, Fallon gets injured now. Do you know, like, it's a problem position for them. It's somewhere I think it's not good enough. They should have went out and strengthened. They should have brought somebody in. They should have even brought someone on loan from England in, or they should have done something that brought another keeper in. Like, there was keepers available in the summer. As I said to you, there was a few ones, you know, like you said, Ty Grind went to Derry. There was keepers available. I just think he should have went out and strengthened, and he didn't. And if it comes back and it kicks him now and it affects Rovers, Bradley's got himself to blame. He should have went out and got someone, in my opinion.
Later be talking about that, like, though.
Could be. I suppose we'll wrap it up there, gents. It was great being back for the Premier Revision review show. Really looking forward to the next games next week. Thanks everybody watching the video. Let us know what you think, how your team did this weekend in the comments below. Like and share and subscribe. Thanks very much.